Hi there, it's Nicole for Lawn Fawn, and today I've got a card featuring a custom inked plaid background that features the brand new SCRIPTY Aloha large die from Lawn Fawn for the greeting, and then the little Aloha stamp set, these adorable little pineapples all lined up. These are the perfect accents to go with this plaid background. To start, I am going to start with the accents first. And I'm going to stamp 4 of these pineapples from the Aloha stamp set on some Bristol smooth cardstock. I have a huge little stash of little scraps of Bristol smooth cardstock left over from bigger pieces that I've used to create backgrounds. I create backgrounds so often, but the paper comes like 9 by 12, I believe, and so I always end up with all of these little scraps, which are perfect when you need little accents and you want to color them with Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. Because the Zigs blend beautifully on the Bristol smooth cardstock, I always keep these little scraps of paper because they're perfect. So I've stamped multiples of these pineapples because I think all of the little faces are just too cute not to use all of them. I'm using all 4 of the faces eyes. One of those is the sunglasses, which I stamped separately because there is a die for that. You could also stamp it directly onto the pineapple if you don't want to die cut that separately. Then I'm starting by coloring in my pineapples. I'm usually using 3 shades for those pineapples: 061 light brown, 052 bright yellow, and 050 yellow. And I'll tell you right now, I've added to my Zig collection. I started with a bunch of them, but as I was creating a swatch book, I realized I was missing a few colors, and I guess I didn't realize how great of additions they would be. This light brown and bright yellow perfectly complement the yellow. I've always found that my yellow I don't really have the right color to blend with it, and I think the light brown and bright yellow blend beautifully. I think the name bright yellow threw me off kind of originally when I was getting my Zig markers, and I thought it was going to be neon or something. It's not. It's fantastic. I absolutely love it. I like to start with my dark color, go in with my next darkest color if I'm doing that, and then end with my lightest color and blend that all out. Kind of different than if you're coloring with Copics or something, but you're going to get fantastic blends this way. Same thing with the green at the top of the pineapples, except in this instance, I really suggest going with the mid-green, blending out with the yellow green, and then finishing with a little accent with that, or not mid-green. Start with light green, go with yellow green, finish with mid-green, and just kind of feather in some accents. For the background of my card now, I am masking off the stitched edge from the outside in stitched rectangles. This is the largest size. I die cut this just from a regular piece of Neenah smooth white cardstock, and I'm using Post-it tape to mask off areas to create my own plaid background. I didn't measure anything. This is very, very simple. This is one of the easier ways to create a plaid. There are lots of ways to do it. I'm going to pop these up then and create new masked areas. I use peeled paint first, the Distress Oxide ink. These are super smooth because they have pigment ink in them. I'm addicted to them. I also just added these to my crafty stash and I am addicted. I absolutely love them. They go on like butter. So, so beautiful. So I'm simply reusing my masks, creating a little bit bigger area right next to those thinner green strips or stripes, whatever you want to call them, and inking in the yellow there. So this is the fossilized amber, and I'm going to do all one direction first. I find I have a lot more luck going all one way. I'll go ahead and remove the masks. I am going to reuse these for the whole card. They might be losing a little bit of their sticky, but they're going to make it through. I'm going to go ahead again go and put all my masks going the opposite direction, and now I am inking over going the other way with peeled paint ink. What's great about this is you're going to get some lighter areas then where you're covering up or going over those original stripes, and it's also almost going to create another color or just another dimension to the plaid. Just working my way back the other way now. It's not going to be perfect, but all I want is this plaid background, and then I'll add a little distressing here in a minute when I finish. You can really see it starting to take shape. You could add as many colors as you want. You could add additional colors to this design and really make a colorful background. I wanted something that coordinated with the pineapples, so I stuck with these two colors. I'm going to go ahead and cut apart the sunglasses and pineapple die and die cut all of these images. I like to use a little post-it tape to hold those in place, run those through the machine. I'll take a black gel pen and add detail to the eyes and the mouths on all of the images, and my black pen kind of smudged a little bit there, the one eye, so I'm using just a needle to pick up some of that before it dries. I'm trying to be really careful to not ruin that pineapple. I didn't want to redo it. I really felt like the mouths got lost in these images, so I went ahead and went over everything. Any eyes, any mouths, the sunglasses as well. Shiny sunglasses are just going to be so much more showy than the flat black dye inked ones. You could also stamp the sunglasses with Versamark ink and emboss with black embossing powder. I think that would look incredible as well. Now I'm going to take the greeting I Pine From You from the Aloha stamp set, ink that up with some jet black Lawn Fawn ink and stamp that there along the bottom, kind of bottom middle of my background. I'm using my Aloha die to gauge kind of where I think that needs to go. Then I've got some mustard seed and tarnished brass distress paint. I'm just putting them on an acrylic block to use it kind of as a palette, adding a little bit of water to water that down so it flicks a little bit easier. And then I'm simply picking it up with a small paintbrush and then splattering it over the background. This is going to give my plaid background a little bit of that distressed look, add a tiny bit of interest, and make it not quite so perfect, something that I really like. So lots of little flecks of yellow paint. Do the same thing with the tarnished brass, pick that up, flick it over the background. And that's going to look incredible. Now I'm going to need to let this sit and dry completely. I like to let mine air dry. So I went and ran to the grocery store, I think, and started supper, did some other things, and came back to this later. And then I can start to put the rest of it together. I had this scrap of fun foam that has some white cardstock and adhered with stick it to it. And I went ahead and used that scrap to go ahead and die cut the SCRIPTY Aloha. Before I remove it, I'm going to go ahead and ink it up with those same two Distress Oxide colors, the peeled paint and fossilized amber. The bottom is peeled paint, the top's going to be fossilized amber. So it's going to be a two-tone die-cut dimensional greeting that matches the background and the rest of the card perfectly. Go ahead and pop this out now. I always try to keep these little scraps from when I die cut dimensional fun foam, either greetings or numbers in that instance, because there's almost always a time where you can use that for something else. This project features lots of my scraps from my craft room, I think. I'm going to pop all those insides of the letters out, and I can go ahead and attach that to my card. I want it to sit right above the I Pine For You greeting phrase. Once I have that, just going to kind of push it down just a little bit. I'm going to take a little glossy accents And this is one of my favorite things to do for a dimensional greeting, is go over the whole thing with glossy accents. This is going to make it nice and shiny when it's all dry, and just make it stand out a little bit more, especially since it is the same colors as the background. It tends to blend into the background a little bit, and I love the look of glossy accents over it. This will need to sit and dry for, I would say, maybe an hour, but then it will be nice and hardened and just perfect. Now, I didn't let mine sit and dry. I went ahead and decided to go adhere my pineapples to my card. I was kind of in a hurry, and luckily I didn't get my hand into the glossy accents, because normally when I'm in a hurry and I have glossy accents drying, I get into it and make a big mess. But I'm going to try to be really careful. I'm attaching the sunglasses to one of the pineapples there with some Zotz Bling glue dots. Then I'm going to take a nice strong adhesive. This is the Glue Glider Pro Permatack. And carefully pop these little guys back behind the Aloha greeting. And I want them to all kind of look like they're sitting next to each other, tipping this way and that. The Aloha Scripty greeting slightly overlaps part of these, especially the loops in the L and the H. I like to start with the center and work my way out. That way it will help ensure that everything is evenly spaced. Make sure. There's the last one. I'll go ahead and remove my masks from the background now, and then I let that sit and dry. I'm going to take a white side fold card base then, adhere that right to the card base. It'll be slightly smaller than the card base, so it'll have a nice white border all the way around. And this Aloha card featuring the Aloha and Scripty Aloha from Lawn Fawn is all finished. Thanks for joining me today for this fun pineapple card featuring Lawn Fawn stamps and dies. The supplies I used are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring Lawn Fawn that you might be interested in. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.